thank you. This is Shane Bedingfield / the Texas Torque Wrench coming to you live from downtown Fayetteville, North Carolina. And let me start off the show by sending my condolences to the Mongolian stomper. I've seen a report that he passed away in his sleep at the age 78. Godspeed, my brother. Godspeed, my brother. And on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit more about Super Bowl. A little bit about. I hope the WWE doesn't start booking like Bischoff booked Sturgis for the more or less, for stupid reasons, booking towns for no reason whatsoever, and not utilizing local celebs at shows. Like in Miami, they could be using Mickey Mundy left and right. He's got a cult following, one of the original cocaine cowboys, really a nice guy. One of the few guys from the drug business who never used, but he was mainly in it to transport and make money. And, he's a good guy. And I talk to his daughter every once in a while on Facebook, Jessica Brandt, and just one of those good guys. I always said I'm probably going to wind up retiring back down in Fort Lauderdale. That's almost like my second home. I like North Carolina and all. North Carolina helped me get reestablished in the wrestling business, but, and it gave me the nerves to do what I'm doing now, talking about the business, and, it's the land of prestige as far as wrestling. That's the way it's been built for years. And also, we're going to touch a little bit on the DDP yoga thing. So, just, on the DDP yoga thing, this is the deal that sort of gets me. You just, in the yoga sense, yoga tradition, you cannot appoint yourself a guru even if you are a millionaire. First off, I don't think anybody in the West, because the West is so materialistically built, I don't think anybody has any right in North America to appoint themselves a guru, because when you do that, you're setting yourself up. I read a lot of spiritual stuff. I've been reading the 14 lectures of yoga on Raha Yoga. I practice daily. I do a little bit of Tai Chi. I listen to some binaural beats. And the great thing about Tai Chi is it's not so much the movements as it is the breathing rhythm. That's where you get peace and tranquility at. And, the yoga postures are sort of made for you, first off, to deepen your higher mental levels so that you can concentrate better. It's not so much about exercise as it is concentrating on any given minute, any given time. I take myself into meditation. I really enjoy the meditation side of the yoga. That's how come I study Raha Yoga and Kriya Yoga. I listen to a lot of stuff on the Isha Foundation. I listen to a lot of stuff on black magic and the occult. But at the same time, I read the Bible. I attend church every Sunday. But I don't like saying I that much, because I think when you start saying I, you're really saying me, and it's an ego thing. So I really don't like to talk about it. There's a Hermetic saying, close the closed lips are wise to the ears of understanding. Which, if you read the Kabbalion, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever read the Kabbalion and the three trice of Hermetis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Vampiro may be the only guy in the wrestling world that really knows what I'm talking about when I say that. So, because Vampiro, sort of like me, bounced around a little bit. At one time last year, I wanted to put myself in a monastery. This for the discipline reasons. And it's hard to find a place, especially here in Fayetteville, to do a 3-hour meditation because of the trains. To do a 3-hour meditation the way that they used to do it in India was they'd find a cave, and there's where they really discovered that the alchemic / mental transmutation process. So, because you got to have dead silence. And there's a posture that you can do where you close your ears, where you hold your hands, close your ears, actually close your nostrils, and you practice on yogic sleep. And when you do that, you get dead silence. If you hold your ears just right with your thumbs and place your part of your earlobe into your ear, you get absolute dead silence. And it's really cool to feel if you ever do it. So, okay, first off, one of my biggest downfalls I think I have with DDP yoga is self-appointed guru, and there's no such thing as a yoga posture called the diamond cutter. Now, granted, Diamond Dallas Page is doing that for marketing reasons. I understand. I completely understand that end. He's trying to use his name to make money. It's no different than Tony Little. You know, Tony Little, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. I actually talked to him a little bit back and forth. And at one time, and I just have a hard time with the guru part. That's the thing that gets me the most. Because really, to be a guru, you got to fly to India and be initiated. And it's almost like a rite of passage. It's almost like whenever you become a wrestler. If you could become a wrestler through a proper school, it takes you about 9 months to do it. And then you still don't know everything. You still got to go out and get booked. I know that. Buzz alert. That's just the way it is, you know. These wrestling schools nowadays that go out, let somebody in the ring with less than 3 months in the business, it's a sham. Now, granted, I realize there's no special times whenever wrestling promotions are running where they involve the police, and they'll, like in Fort Lauderdale at Jimmy Snuka School, they let the police officers come in and be involved in the battle royal, and some of the guys put over the police officers to make them look good, knowing that it involves an outside entity, and it winds up being good for business. I understand that, but not every kid that comes in, like what happened at ACW right before I left Amarillo to go work offshore. There was a 19-year-old promoter, probably I think an 18-year-old promoter. His granddad fronted the money. He did a real small wrestling show. Me, Chris Youngblood, and Ricky Romero III and Matt Maverick did a show. We were the semi-main event. Chris and Matt Maverick were the main event. We did that to help them get going, but the way that they were doing business up till then was wrong, and they wouldn't listen. Now, granted, some of those guys are still in the business, but still, it's wrong to do business like that in the wrestling business. First off, it makes it look like everybody can come in and be involved in the business. And it doesn't look like there's no rite of passage when it's done that way. Now, granted, I will say this. Everybody's got to start somewhere. And I know indie wrestling back in the day used to be called outlaw wrestling. And it's just, it makes no sense. And what happens is, the guy may be able to do the moves, but the small things, and this is where the WWE has messed up for a long time, and Ricky Romero, Chris, Mark, and Jay Youngbloods, and Ricky the Third's, Radical Ricky Romero's dad and granddad used to say is they had no color. And when you have no color, you go out there and you look like a ham and egger, also known as a jobber. Now, granted, there's good jobbers. There's Barry Horowitz. There's George South. There's worlds of difference. But see where I'm going with this? There's a direct tie to the yoga world, to the wrestling world, as far as the way how the rite of passage is. And you just don't up and do it. I always label myself, I'm on one of my Twitter accounts out of a joke, because I wanted to see how many people would bite. I label myself as a mystique. Now, Sanguru, the master of Kriya Yoga, on all his stuff, he's labeled as a mystique. I did that on my Twitter account, sort of like jokingly. But I live a different life. It's hard to explain my life. I'm original. But you know, right now, after the way my life has been up to now, I wouldn't change it for nothing. We're all on a path. We're all spiritual beings living the human experience. So, with that being said, I believe I pretty much summed up my argument right there with DDP Yoga. Now, granted, that's on him. He wants to do that. You want to be a self-appointed guru? Well, when you cuss somebody out in public, or you use cuss language, or like something that happened to me last week, when you put yourself out there like that, you are subject to a lot of turmoil. That's how come I don't label myself as a guru. Like I said, I haven't worked up to the 3-hour meditation yet, so I'm not about to do that. Now, granted, Diamond Dallas Page can go out and make all the money he wants. It's on him. It's on him. He's the one, and he's probably sleeping good at night. He's the one that has to lay down and sleep at night. So, but it ain't going to be me that does that. I've already told you my whole thoughts on the Western world, especially North America. The Kardashians tell the secret in the UFC. Watch the people that watch the UFC. And now, granted, not all the fighters are that way. Some of them live a spiritual life. A lot of the South Americans are completely on a different wavelength than what we are spirituality-wise. But the American fighters are materialistic as hell. So, with that being said, that's my argument. Self-appointed guru just doesn't cut it, but that's on him. So, with that, I said my piece. So, all right, to the Super Bowl. Right now, I'm picking the Carolina Panthers to go over. Now, granted, it's a fake Super Bowl. WrestleMania is more legit this year. And it's the reason why I'm picking to go over is because I'm in the home of PSYOP Central. I think the only place that probably has more PSYOPs going on is Quantico, Virginia, and because of Fort Bragg. And I've actually talked to people who works in PSYOP at Fort Bragg. So I'm picking the Carolina Panthers to win. Unless Peyton Manning this week says he's retiring, then they're going to give him the Ray Lewis treatment and let him go out on top. So that pretty much sums up what I think about that. And I want to see the Super Bowl commercials more than anything. But who knows? I may not even mark out to the Super Bowl because I'm just that kind of guy. I may have more important stuff to do. I may go hang out with my New York friend that lives down here in Fayetteville, that's the implant. Go hang out with them and some of those people next Sunday night. Who knows? That day isn't here yet. That's crazy, ain't it? I won't even mark out to the Super Bowl that I've been talking about. But the only thing I have to do is online at midnight that night. I can see see what's being said and see what's shaking and see what people's opinions are about the game. And, it's just like doing a wrestling event. You always look at the feedback of the event. The Iowa caucus is going down right now. That's how come, I said that this is all about Hillary Clinton this week at the Super Bowl. They're trying to get her over. They're trying to get her agenda over. And it's just not a sporting event. It's just exactly like on that movie, American Gangster, when Denzel Washington. It ain't about the event. It's about who's at the event. It's about what's the main purpose of the event. This event, the Super Bowl, is not about a football game. It's about pushing an agenda. So, pretty much, I said it there. I'm sure they're going to involve the Kardashians because the Kardashians keep everybody blind. And I'm sure they're going to do something crazy with Budweiser because that keeps everybody blind too. And, it's just the way our society is right now. And, with WrestleMania going down in Dallas, I'll probably go live that night if the Freebirds are not put into the Hall of Fame. I'm probably going to go live twice back to back. I don't like going live back to back because I just don't know. I can't tell what's really going down. But and it's always spurred a moment. And so what I do is I record a show, run it all over the internet, and see what everybody thinks. So, pretty much said that. Now, to the WWE and the booking, somebody said something to me yesterday, sort of caught me off guard. They said that they get the feeling that Triple H is booking stuff to book stuff, and more or less booking stuff for him to like have a feather in his hat, a lot like Bischoff booked Sturgis. The only reason why WCW booked Sturgis is so Eric Bischoff could ride his motorcycle and see some of his friends. So, and a lot of people are getting the same feeling out of Triple H because it's like, well, he booked himself against Sting. Now he's booking himself against supposedly one of the up and comers, and actually, all three of those are not worth a damn. If he was gonna book somebody with somebody, book himself with somebody now, I think he ought to book himself with AJ Styles because AJ Styles has really been the best worker in the business the last couple of years. He's done the most stuff. He's worked with the most people. These guys, the old Shield guys that they've been putting over in WWE are mainly robots. They're mainly creations. They are not. They don't have the working ability AJ has. Because AJ got big without the WWE, and depending on which way they market him, which way, what they're going to do. But see, WWE's got so much stuff that they got to get across right now. They still haven't got the Divas where they're headliners yet. The Divas need to at least be the feature or the semi-main event at WrestleMania. It's just the way it is. And I preferably Charlotte and Natty, but I just don't know if they can cook up a story fast enough. I just got done seeing a picture of Natty working out. I mean, Natty's ready. Natty's been ready for a long time. Just they got all jumbled up and they started. Sometimes WWE does the world's worst about loading up a roster, then have nothing for them to do. So, and that's, they let go of Brodus Clay, they let go of several guys before. One of the biggest mistakes they ever did was let Alberto Del Rio go. And because Alberto Del Rio is the kind of guy that could go either way. And if not anything, you bring him in to work with people that's just coming in that they're wanting to push because he's from a wrestling family, and I'm all about wrestling families. Because wrestling families, they don't mess around. They do the right thing as far as the business 95% of the time. So I know that was hellish, but that was the truth. So wrestling families almost all the time do what's right for business. Now I realize that Triple H has turned that into an angle, and there's nothing right about turning that into an angle. But you know what? It's a good for, doing it as angles, only do it sort of right. But if you're doing it just to have it out there, it's almost like name dropping in the wrestling business. Name dropping is never good unless you can actually back up that you said that you were with this guy or this group at this certain time. It's just not worth a dang. And I just hope Triple H and Stephanie and Vince and their creative team think this stuff out. Because UFC has could be headed towards a bad direction. Now, granted, bad publicity is better than no publicity, but at the same time, you got to know what you're doing. So, with that being said, I believe I've said enough. Well, I'm going to cut y'all loose early today. I pretty much said what's on the mind. I'm waiting on everything to build up. I'm waiting on, waiting to see what's going to go down on Raw tonight. And look at everybody's feedback on the show. And right now, they got to do a lot of stuff right. They're building for WrestleMania, and WrestleMania is the Super Bowl, and this is their first chance where they could really make some waves. Because everybody's starting to catch on to the other sports, and the only thing the WWE has to do is, I said a couple shows back that I think they need to have a main event where there's not so many high spots, and let's do an old school thing. And I almost turned it into a bloodbath. And but do it an old school bloodbath. Use the old cage, and don't use the new cage, and don't use the big bar cage. Do something where it will almost come across like Starrcade or a Texas Death Match. Come across that way. That's it right there. That's the answer right there. A Texas Death Match in WrestleMania. Now, granted, they don't got anybody I don't think they can push that has any Texas roots outside of Taker. But Texas Death Match. And label it as a Texas Death Match. That will draw money. It hasn't been done by the WWE before. And I'm sure Vince has Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk Jr. on his speed dial. Only thing he has to do is say, all right, how would you do this with these guys? Go call the old guys who are experts on a Texas Death Match. The Texas Death Match is the answer to WrestleMania. This is one time where they need to push the envelope. And then make sure they're not taking pictures with anybody, and don't drop the Texas Death Match, the Raw before Mania. Say, yeah, main event is now a Texas Death Match. And promote it the Raw before Mania. That is the answer. That will draw major money. That will give Vince, as long as he's got his PR people working on taking down the UFC, and that will put them in a situation where they can take back over the pay-per-view war. See, and now I got started on another tangent because that's just the kind of guy I am. I'm a genius. I'm the genius of geniuses. I'm the mastermind. I know what I'm talking about because I've seen a lot of wrestling history. I've talked to people who's been with people over in All Japan. All Japan, WWE will never be able to put together a tag team tournament like they did in All Japan. First off, the horses they don't got enough horses in the wrestling business anymore to do a tournament like All Japan. There's just not enough. Now, granted, that they did some digging and some egos got dropped, and and the WWE brought the Rock and Roll Express into work, which is another tangent of mine. You get me started on that, we'll be here for 3 days. That's the answer. Texas Death Match, or bring the Rock and Roll Express in to get your people ready. Because the WWE does not have this. Even with John Laurinaitis there, they do not have the capability to do a tag team tournament like they did in All Japan. The horses are not available in indie wrestling right now to do that. It's a fact of life. That was exclusive. You heard it here. That was exclusive. You heard it here. They just don't got the horses to do that. The Texas Death Match is the answer. In Dallas, Texas, is the answer to WrestleMania. Vince, Triple H, Paul Levesque, whoever you are, call Dory Funk Jr. up down in Ocala, Florida, and start taking some notes. Fly down there and talk to him. Fly to Amarillo, talk to Terry. Listen to Michael Hayes. That's the answer. And induct the Freebirds into the freaking Hall of Fame. You will draw money, but if you don't induct the Freebirds in, you're not going to draw crap. So you might as well start rewriting tonight's show, Paul Levesque and Stephanie, with your tall leg ass, and start rethinking tonight. Because you know what, you guys almost need to start operating like WCW to fix some of your stuff. Start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Start rewriting your stuff, because the way you're headed right now, it ain't headed right. And if you're not putting the Freebirds in the Hall of Fame, you deserve to fall on your butt at WrestleMania. So, that's it for me. You heard it here. That was exclusive. If you don't put the Freebirds in, you deserve to go broke. You heard it.